And we're live. We're live. Oh, give me some of this Vaseline now. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. Anyway, guys, my name is Koku, aka Koku Puff. I've just decided to go live tonight. Just, I don't know. Doesn't matter if anybody's watching or not. I'm just basically testing out controls and seeing what's happening. The main thing I wanted to do tonight was basically talk about this Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears situation. I did watch the video. So what's happening now is that there's a lawsuit with Tiffany Haddish's name attached to it. And within this lawsuit, the children at the time, actually, there's a John Doe and a Jane Doe. The John Doe is the youngest child. And at the time he was 14 to 15 years old, or he's 14, 15 years old now. And the Jane Doe is now 22 years old. I'm sorry. At the time he was, I believe, 7 years old, and she was 14. What they're saying in this lawsuit is that the children were molested, and they're actually representing themselves in this particular lawsuit, the plaintiff, and they're saying that Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears took advantage of them. So I had a lot of questions around that because, first of all, the charges just seem so sensational and crazy. I just felt like, what is it that we're talking about? How could this possibly have been online? And is this at all true? You know, I obviously don't delight in watching things like this, but I wanted to just understand like where the truth is, if there's anything at all, right? And I want to be fair and balanced in whatever I perceive in this situation. So I watched the video because there is a way to watch this video. You know, with the internet, nothing ever dies. Everything is forever, right? So what you say, what you do, what you put out there, any kind of information, there's always going to be somebody that's keeping tabs on a thing. So in this particular case, Aries Spears had taken the video down, but there's a way that you can get that footage and find it and watch the video. So I saw the video myself. It's about less than 5 minutes, and it's something called "In the Mind of a Pedophile." In the particular video that I saw, because apparently there's more than one skit, the child is in the video with Aries, and Tiffany Haddish is playing a character where she's a mother, and she's telling her uncle to watch her child while she goes off to run errands. And basically the theme is that this is a mother that's just very like not very invested, and it's like, hey, can you watch my child while I go do a thing? And these things seem to be kind of like made up tasks or something of the sort. Well, when she leaves him with the uncle that we're talking about here is a child molester. And so it's here's the thing. I think there's a way to play with uncomfortable themes. I think there's a way to make kind of almost anything funny. But when you do that, the task really at hand is not to be so literal about it. And the premise of the video, the execution, everything about it was so poor and so weird, really, that you have to question for yourself whether or not it's almost like a confession from Ari Spears when you watch this. Like, dude, is this how you get down? Like, this is not a PSA. This is a diary of a pedophile, really. You should really change it to a diary of a pedophile. Um, some of these things are just so uncomfortable. I mean, you have zooming in on crotch shots of a child. At some particular point at the end of the video, Aries is actually, the child is rubbing down Aries sexually, and it's a sexually suggestive way in terms of the camera work. Um, and it's just like, I can't imagine what's going through this child's head right now as he looks back at this footage. And, you know, when you're a child at that age, you know, you're just kind of doing what you're being told. And, you know, your parents, which I understand from reading the article, the children are saying that their mother was not in the room because there was a trust level there where, you know, some people, you leave your kids with so-and-so, and Tiffany Haddish was a family friend. So the mother was not there. But one of the things that the children said is that, or the Jane Doe, who was the oldest child, said is that once the mother left the premises, there was like a shift in behavior or a change in how Tiffany was talking to them, and it felt like it just felt very, very like very uncomfortable and strange. Like, you know, here's my nice auntie kind of thing. Mom leaves the room, and it's suddenly like the door shuts, and there's like the mask is, you know, is unrevealed, or her is revealed rather. The mask comes off, and so anyways, I can't believe that they went forward with this and to produce it. And you could find it. You could find the video if you want to. I honestly don't even suggest that you watch it. I just knew that for me, I felt like compelled to watch it because I just wanted to know what the truth is as far as whatever's being told. The little girl who is now 22, and she's the guardian of her brother. What she was saying is that in her skit, Tiffany Haddish was teaching her how to simulate fellatio on a sandwich, on a Subway sandwich or something of that sort. It's just a really disturbing turn of events. It's very, very strange, very, very weird. None of it obviously is funny, and you have to question why any of this even took place. Um, Tiffany has been very vocal of having a very difficult childhood, having experienced a lot of trauma, abuse. So, I do understand those lines and those limits of trying to sort of test your own trauma and turning sort of a terrible event into something that you can almost kind of laugh at in a therapeutic way. I get how that works. I think that with abuse, there's very few people that have been able to execute that in that way. I think a lot of those sort of really simplistic jokes, like, like, hey, Uncle Chester, so and so, like that type of stuff is not really really funny to me. um I don't know what either of them are thinking. I'm not really sure what they thought that they were going to be able to what they thought would come out of this. But I do know that the original platform that they had uploaded this to, Funny or Die, Funny or Die tends to actually have like really kind of like ignorant, real like low hanging fruit, like sort of the content on there can be that way. And I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way necessarily, but they're kind of willing to push the envelope a little bit when it comes to content. And they actually saw, I guess when the video got was brought to their attention, they actually took it down. So for Funny or Die to take this video down, to me, that's actually very telling in terms of like how this video was initially perceived. This was actually done in 2014. This is coming to our to the sort of the public eye, and it's kind of being all released right now. So I guess one of the questions that I always ask with things like this is just really why, right? So the why here for me is that Ari Spears has obviously been in the news cycle lately. Someone that we don't necessarily always think about. I guess if you're into his comedy, maybe he'd be on your radar. I think the last time that I actually sort of actively thought about him is during his Mad TV era, during that particular run. But he did an interview with a platform on YouTube where he was asked about what he thought about Lizzo's music. And instead of just answering the question, he went on to insult Lizzo. And it was very, very odd and just unsolicited and unnecessary. So rather than just saying, hey, I like her music, I don't like her music, just whatever that opinion could have been, just directly answering the question. What he did was say that he thought she had a pretty face. You kind of have to lead with the nice thing, right? And then go with the bad thing. Then he talks about her weight and her shape. And he said that she was shaped like the shit emoji. And it was so rude, so nasty, so unnecessary, so mean, and so strange. Like, what's this all about? This is not what you were asked. It's also just very unnecessary, and it's just very mean. Why would you do that to anybody? I didn't get that. And I thought that came out very nasty. But I also feel like a lot of times when people talk about people, I feel like that typically sort of is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. You would never hear me call anybody the shit emoji or remark on people's looks as unattractive or anything like that. I mean, because it's not up to me. Who is the judge and the jury? It's not up to me to make those calls, those distinctions, or make those kinds of remarks about anybody's looks. It's not my business, right? What Lizzo does is her business. How she is a very beautiful girl, and actually, especially please, if you ever watched her TV show, it's on Prime Video. It's called Watch Out for the Big Girls. I find her to be a very positive individual, and she's just done nothing to receive that kind of unsolicited hate. I think she comes off like a very likable person, and it's nice to see someone that can actually be very, very confident in their presentation, regardless of whatever conventional, shapes or attractive is. So I don't really have a problem with her. I don't really understand why people just decide that they want to sort of pick on her. I've never really gotten that. But anyway, with Ari Spears, there's that. So when he made those comments, he then went on to say that he felt like people were picking on him. And it's so odd because again, you can see the hurt and pain in people, especially with how they communicate, like with their language, especially like bully types. There's always a story behind that. So with him, he came back on the platform and said that people that his looks, because people then since it's all, it's a free for all, right? So then they said like, well, Aries, you're overweight and we find you unattractive. So then he says on that platform that looks are subjective. And I don't know why people are picking on me, and looks are subjective. And he's talking about how he's betted all these women, and all men at some point pay for, they transact in some kind of way, whether or not you're buying somebody dinner or just straight up, just cash for ass type stuff. And again, it was just very telling, because again, you're saying looks are subjective and you're saying that people are picking on you or whatever, but what you did to Lizzo was you were picking on her. He was picking on her. No one asked him. The interviewer did not ask him if he found Lizzo attractive or anything of the sort. He simply asked what he thought about her album. So I don't even know if what the agenda was behind that question, if that person knew that he was going to go there. I don't even know what's going on with that man, but I do think that Ari Spears comes off as a very hurt individual, and that his reaction to being attacked also definitely seemed to suggest that. But again, watching this particular video, which there seems to be that there's more than one video, the one that is available online, again, you can find this video if you look long enough, you'll find the video. It is not funny. It is very disturbing. It is, to me, I mean, I don't know, what the limits or the levels to which the law goes, right? I don't know anything about what the law can do. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not lawyerly. I just tend to do my research on a lot of things. What I will say is that if you watch this video, it will be very difficult not to be disturbed and rattled by what you see. Because again, it's very, very literal interpretation, and it's not really sending a message of a PSA as was intended. It is showcasing what to me looks like dysfunction in terms of Ari's own whatever his proclivities are, but it does not look like a so-called PSA. And one thing I did notice though is I saw a lot of people that were not a lot of people. No, I won't say that. I saw people that were defending the video in some instances. And to me, that spoke to their dysfunction as well. I feel like if you can defend this video, oh, what is a PSA about, making sure that you don't have your children around certain kind of people. If you can defend this video in the way that it was presented, that says so much more about you as well, more than you realize, because there's nothing about it that's educational, nothing about it that's funny. I can't even imagine, I was talking to people earlier, in terms of just even the pitch of it all. It's just very weird. It's uncomfortable. It's unsettling. And this poor mother, what they were saying is the mother was not present because there was a trust level there, because Tiffany was a family friend. So if the mother was not present, Tiffany's a family friend, that's not necessarily unusual. That, I'm going to have my kids over at your house, with you and your friends. That's, I don't have children. I could be honest with you guys, the way the world is today, ain't none of y'all coming around my kids. If I had kids, you wouldn't see my kids. You wouldn't see my kids' pictures. You wouldn't know who my children were. You wouldn't know their names. You wouldn't see their faces. You can't come around. I wouldn't even take my children to Disney World. I don't want none of them around you. But I do understand that, there are people that you can bring around your children, and you could feel like it's safe to do so. And so when people are questioning the mother in that instance, there's things that you would never expect to happen with certain individuals. And, apparently the mother was not told what the skit was about. She was not told what the skit was about. But I'm just going to read some of the stuff that I saw here, right? So what I also found very, very unsettling here, I'm going to go from the Yahoo News article. This is written by Alexandra de Rosario, okay? So what she said was, comedians Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears are being sued after being accused of child sexual abuse. According to a lawsuit filed Tuesday in Los Angeles Superior Court, the actors allegedly assaulted a pair of siblings named John Doe and Jane Doe in the filing when they were 7 and 14. The Daily Beast first reported on the lawsuit on Thursday. Again, we're calling them John and Jane Doe. Of course, now the elder sibling, the Jane Doe, she is of age, but because they were not of age at the time, we're not revealing these children's names. The suit alleges that Haddish and Spears groomed and molested the plaintiffs, and that some of the incidents were recorded on video. However, Haddish's attorney, Andrew Bretler, dismissed the accusations. And here's the quote from her attorney. Plaintiff's mother, Teresa Morris, has been trying to assert these bogus claims against Ms. Haddish for several years, he said in a statement to the Times. Every attorney who has initially taken on her case, and there were several, ultimately dropped the matter once it became clear that the claims were meritless and Ms. Haddish would not be shaken down. Now Ms. Morris has her adult daughter representing herself in this lawsuit. The two of them will together face the consequences of pursuing this frivolous action. When reached by the Times on Thursday, an attorney for Spears, Deborah Opry, responded, he isn't going to fall for any shakedown. At the center of the suits are two incidents involving each of the siblings separately. Jane Doe, alleging that in 2013, Spears and Haddish encouraged her to mimic the motions of fellatio for a skit. Jane Doe was 14 at the time. Then in 2014, a 7-year-old John Doe was allegedly stripped down to his underwear and filmed for another skit featuring both Haddish and Spears. I have seen that skit with the John Doe sibling, and it is exactly that. It's exactly what's being described. I think what really bothers me about this too is that everything's being framed as a shakedown. And the question that I asked myself before I watched this video was, I did ask myself this, because when I saw that the elder sibling, there's a couple of things. When I saw that she was representing herself pro se, I did question like what's going on here, because a lot of times, like when I think about people representing themselves in court, sometimes it's because that person has a shaky case, right? Like it's like, I'm not taking this on. A lot of lawyers kind of want that sure shot. They want that win. And I thought it was very unusual that she was representing herself. They're going pro se. That's what they call it, pro se. That she'd be representing herself in court. And there's a lawsuit here that they're looking for monetary compensation. I would think that most lawyers probably would want to take something like that on if it's something that they felt like they could win. So that's why I said, I probably should need to see this tape just to sort of understand what we're looking at, what we're facing here. And then the other thing I was looking at was that the elder sibling is now in custody, now has legal custody of the younger sibling. So Jane Doe now has legal custody of John Doe. And I was like, why does she have custody? There's a 22-year-old. To me, that's pretty much a kid. When you're 22, you're a young adult, but you don't have it all figured out. Why would a 22-year-old have custody of a 15 or 14, 15-year-old right now? That says a lot, right? There's a lot going on there, But somebody I know was just really bringing up that, not all lawyers are going to work on, not necessarily on a pro bono basis, but basically just work, pending reward. A lot of times they want compensation up front. And that would inform why they would or wouldn't take the case. And maybe these people just did not have the money to have, proper representation. And that's why it's being represented pro se. Listen, if you see this video, this woman ain't got to say nothing in court. Seriously, it's that creepy and icky. Ain't nobody got to say anything in court. Once you see this video, you are going to know and you are going to see for sure that there are some real depraved, crazy people in this world. And some of those people do work in entertainment. All this stuff you hear about entertainment, and when you see those kids and you see people that have been child stars, child actors that try to move on in their lives and either, in entertainment or in other avenues because that star starts to fade, you understand why these people crumble, because look at what is being done to these children. It's not right. It's not right. Again, I'm going to go back into what I saw in that video. So the video starts off with Tiffany coming down a set of stairs. And I do not remember what the name of the uncle is supposed to be. The uncle is Aries. And she's coming down a set of stairs with the baby in hand, the child, and saying, hey, can you watch my son? I'm going out to run some kind of errand. Then it's like he's watching the son. It's got the R. Kelly bump and grind music too. So again, it's so on the nose and just way too specifically literal to even be funny. There's not one moment in this video that's funny at all. Actually, none of it's funny. I just felt so bad for the kid. So the kid's just playing around, as kids would do. There's an obvious innocence there. The kid has no idea like where this skit is going, and he pretends to watch a newspaper. This R. Kelly bump and grind music is what comes on to sort of suggest that he's having these, that he's attracted to the child. So the music comes on. He pretends like he's reading the newspaper, but he's got holes through the newspaper. He's looking at the child sexually. It's so disturbing. And then they've got these shots where they zoom in on the child's crotch. This baby is in underwear, y'all. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. Baby's just playing innocent. There's a scene where she again leaves the child with the uncle. and comes up with whatever excuse to leave. She leaves this child with the uncle, and then the child is being isn't taking a bubble bath. He gets in the bubble bath with the kid. I can tell y'all, in all my years of living, I've never hopped in a bathtub with a child. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Fully clothed or otherwise. I'm not hopping in no bathtub with a child. I just didn't understand why, even just from a filming standpoint, why that was even thought of as something that would be, funny. It's just weird. And again, the innocence in this child, he's just taking a bubble bath. He doesn't realize like what's happening or what the suggestion of the scene is, and he's laughing and playing and so forth. And it's just like, this is so creepy. Um, in the end scene, what really bothered me was that they have the child actually even now. Well, before I get to the end scene, at some point, Aries starts rubbing the child down with some kind of lotion. He actually puts his hands on this baby, like he starts rubbing his back down. What's going on here? Like why would that happen? In the end scene, Aries then the child starts to look at him in a sexual way, and then the child starts rubbing him down, and then Aries just doesn't have a shirt on. It's just like, yo, what is wrong with these people? I'm telling you, if I had a child, my child would not come anywhere near the entertainment industry. I promise y'all. I ain't having no babies, and that's one of the reasons. I promise you. I'm looking at my Facebook right now because I just did. I'll tell you guys exactly what I posted because I know nobody likes Facebook anymore, right? So I'm just being an old fuddy duddy by using Facebook. But this is what I had posted there. I said, I saw the Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears skit. It is far and away one of the most disturbing attempts at comedy I've ever seen. I understand addressing trauma through humor, and there are ways to go about that without being so literal. The skit feels like Aries is acting out his true perversions while this poor child is being sexualized. At no point was any of it funny, and I can't even imagine the horror the now 14, 15-year-old boy must be experiencing. And that's just the honest, visceral reaction I had from watching that. It really is that disturbing. Again, I just felt compelled to say something about this. I don't have any real sort of like, there's no like showrunner here. It's just me going live and just feeling like I needed an outlet. It's almost just really just like therapeutic, like I feel like I'm in like one of those reality TV confessionals. I'm just talking to the camera, right? And talking to myself. But you know, I just feel like, it's so disturbing and hurtful. You have, children are so innocent. They're sponges, and all they do is they absorb the world. They see it for what it is, and they trust us, and they love us, and they're so innocent and they're so precious. And there's a truth and an innocence to children that's respected because you're only there once, right? Where things, once you start to get older and you start to see the world for what it is, that sort of how we become embittered and sometimes just really frustrated with circumstances. As a child, some of those things don't necessarily factor in because you're just absorbing, you're learning, you're taking in information. You're not so much hardwired as we are as adults. So when I see that innocence stripped from a child, I mean, it totally destroys me. I would protect the child at all costs. And seeing this, I really question, and I wonder what everybody thinks about this, but I question what this means for not only Ari Spears, but even Tiffany Haddish's career going forward. Tiffany, there have been a lot of people that have, I think she's a little bit polarizing. There are people that have a lot of opinions about her, like whether or not she's funny. I often, I get a little bit offended because a lot of people will say like, well, women aren't funny, right? And I hate when I hear that kind of rhetoric. And I'm just like, how do you just say like women aren't funny, period? I think there's a lot of people in this world who just don't like women. I've said that before. We could turn this into a gender wars thing, right? A lot of people just don't like women. They don't like the opinions of women. They don't like the presence of women. They only like the comfort of women in like a physical sense, but not even just like there's no emotional connection. So I always say like, there's a lot of people, a lot of men that just don't like us, right? That's why there's so much dysfunction and so much of the gender wars going on. So I don't like to say that women aren't funny. I definitely don't think that that's the case. There's a lot of just really, really intelligent, smart humor that's out there. as far as Tiffany Haddish, there's a lot of people. Of course, we saw her in Girls Trip. That was her huge big break, and she killed that role. There's she has been actually called out by her own peers. Cat Williams has been very, very vocal. He doesn't think she's funny. And Cat Williams is freaking hilarious. I think that when you talk about like those top comedians that are really, really able to, especially like off the cuff, to sort of freestyle and do comedy on the main stage, Cat Williams is definitely one of the goats. He's really, really damn good at what he does, right? But as far as Tiffany Haddish, she tends to appeal to a certain kind of base. I think that what people love about her is that she has had that story where she's had that hard life. She's gone through a lot, and she's very honest about it. And I think people can relate to someone who's relatable. Someone that's gone through things, someone that has a story, someone that wasn't necessarily, they didn't have a silver spoon. And so when you see someone like that, conquer and achieve, believe, and continue to keep going, you want to root for them. So when you see an individual like that who knows better in that sense, that has been through something that has just, such tumultuous times, that would be willing to collaborate on a skit like this, whether that means create, participate, um, inform, find funny. It's like, what's going on with you? I would question if she was someone that I was acquainted with, like why would you do this when you know what this is, when you've been through these experiences in the worst kind of way, and not in an adjacent way. It wasn't told to you. This was done to you. Why would you do this? And with Aries, again, this, when you watch this video, it seems very much so like, it's kind of like when, like, for instance, they used the R. Kelly music, right, for Bump and Grind. And this was just, it was used to introduce the sexual tone of each scene. These are scenes where, like, the rest of us who aren't depraved fucking weirdos, we don't look at children and think about anything sexual in nature, right? So whenever the R. Kelly Bump and Grind music came on, that was introduced to sort of show that this is supposed to be like him having a sexual desire for the child. So, again, when you look at somebody like R. Kelly, right, like, especially now through an adult lens, when you start to think back on the music and some of the things he was singing about, and beyond, him getting married to Aaliyah when she was 15, he's a whole grown ass man. You start to realize that a lot of people, they tell their stories, they're kind of hiding in plain sight. They're telling you who they are, and we're not listening because we don't necessarily always know what to look out for, because we wouldn't do those things. So when you look at, let's say, for instance, like this R. Kelly's music, this is a man that is lusting after children. I consider anybody under 18 is a child. It doesn't mean that I don't respect their agency and that I, treat them like, I don't talk down to people. I even if, whether you're 7 or 17, I'm going to ask you how you feel, what do you think, those kind of things. I'm not going to baby talk anybody, and I don't do that to say that I'm condescending. But I do believe that if you're under 18, you're definitely a child, right? Legally. And there's just a lot of things that, you haven't processed or been able to even begin to process by that time, as you're still growing and learning and trying to know. I mean, we're all still growing and learning and trying to know. Every day is something different, and every experience is something different. But at this point, I'm pretty much rambling at this point, but I don't know. Again, the questions that I have here are just like, what's going to happen to these individuals? Will Hollywood, because we're living in a time now where we're not burying things anymore, because this video was available online. It was available on Funny or Die in 2014 through the online archives. Since nothing disappears on the internet, through the online archives, we're able to watch it now anyway, right? And I will say that we've all made, so just sort of getting ahead of the PR cycle, since now that people have seen the video, and plenty more people are disturbed than not. I would say literally, in terms of the content that I've seen, maybe 95% of people are obviously like completely shocked and awed. It ranges from either disturbed by it, feeling like something happened to the levels of actual sexual abuse where they should be charged, or think things are inappropriate, or like I said, there are some people that just kind of feel like, well, it's a PSA, and they're just telling y'all what. So those comments, when I see that, I'm questioning that individual. Like, you definitely not coming around my kids. I wouldn't let you around anybody I even know. But for the most part, I would caution anyone, if you decide to watch this video, you are watching something in progress that is so disturbing that you really may not be able to even just handle it. I just felt like, I suppose I could say, for journalistic integrity, I needed to know whether or not this was something that was genuine in terms of the lawsuit itself. So, my curiosity wasn't so much in just kind of being like, oh, let's see what's going on. It's more so like what's in front of us? What are they facing, and why? So my curiosity was more so in just trying to be informed so I could speak on the subject, without speaking out of turn, and with just having the information in front of me. And I feel so terrible for these children. And the second skit, that the Jane Doe, the elder sibling, is speaking on, that is, to my knowledge, not available online, or doesn't seem to be. I've not seen it. But based on her description of it, it's really, really, really disturbing. Tiffany Haddish teaching you how to perform fellatio. Like, why would, like, I can be honest with you guys, I've never had some elder, I don't know, like, someone just tell me how to perform fellatio. That's never happened to me. That's not, I'm not saying that never happens. I'm just saying that that's never happened to me. So I think that'd be highly unusual. Like, I do, I love that kid at 14, she had the agency and the awareness to say, like, this is weird that this adult is trying to do this and it's making me uncomfortable. And she didn't want to do it. And I respect that about her, that she was able to do that, and that she, as an elder sibling too, that she is taking on this this lawsuit pro se, by any means. Again, guys, when someone represents themselves, the technical term is pro se. That is you going to court without a lawyer and taking on your case on your own, and just arguing, as the plaintiff, and just this is the case, this is the facts, this is everything stated, right? I will repeat that I do not believe for even a second anything has to be said here. If that video is played in court, that's it. So I don't know if that means that beyond the monetary, this is the thing. I was talking to somebody about this, because initially what they said was that the mother was pursuing some kind of, when the video first came out, the mother was saying that she wanted $15,000 from Tiffany Haddish, to just sort of to sort of shut up and make this go away. $15,000, y'all. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money. I'm just saying it's not a lot of money to shut up. Sorry, guys. I got this water here. I'm gonna talk about this water bottle real quick. It's called the Bubba Growler. This is it's just me talking. This thing is 80 hours cold. That's ice in there, right? 80 hours cold. I drink about probably 2 or 3 of these a day. I am somebody that consumes a lot of water, a lot more than the average individual. I just love ice cold water. So I talk about how this stays cold, for 80 hours, but this thing, I drink it, I can drink this all day. I'm gonna just take a sip real quick. This is my intermission really quick. Hold on a second. Then I'll continue with the subject. Ice cold. Anyways, so the mother, $15,000 is obviously somebody gives me, you, anybody we know, next door neighbor, across the street, on the subway, A train across, somebody hands you $15,000. That could be life-changing money depending on the circumstances. It's certainly a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in a situation like this. It's just like, it's kind of an arbitrary amount. $15,000, you can get you moved out, relocated. It's not enough to sustain in a year, but it can definitely, move some things around, and it can affect things. It can make things a little bit different, for a time being, kind of thing. So I wondered about that amount. And that's the thing. But it's the language, though, that Tiffany Haddish's lawyer was using, just kind of making something. This is baseless. All things will prove. You just can't talk like that when, when people got receipts on you. Now you look really crazy, right? So that language should not have been used at all. Look at that water. The water got on my shirt. Anyways, yeah, man. So odd. So I don't know. I wonder just how many people have seen this video? Like, am I the only person here that's like losing it because I saw this video? And I don't know, man. You think about all the children that and you just wonder if they're all okay. Like, it's like these abuses, and you hear people talk about the things that they've gone through in their childhood, and you're just like, was there any way that maybe I could have helped them or I could have saved them? Was there any kind of coded language? Was there something that they could do to reach out to me? And you think about these people in your life that you trust, and that you believe will love your children as much as you love your children, or that will take some kind of concern or care or effort to make sure that your children are, or that the children of the world even are safe, they're protected. It's just nuts what's out there, and Hollywood is a very strange place. Hollywood is an extremely strange place. So, and child actors, oh my goodness, there's very few of them that come out ahead, that have had to live in that world. Again, I will say this: if you have not seen the video and you want to see the video, there is a Yahoo article written by Alexandra de Rosario, and that's the one where she actually plugs in the link in that article. So if you want to see the video, and this is something that I don't even think, it seems like she edited it out. I think she edited it out. But that's where I saw the link, where I was able to just see the link and just inform myself as far as like what was going on. But anyways, going back, in 2018, the children's mother attempted a $15,000 settlement with Spears. So that was with Spears specifically, but failed. In the new lawsuit, John Doe and Jane Doe accused Haddish and Spears of gross negligence, sexual battery, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse of a minor. They seek a reward, the amount of which to be determined at trial, for past, present, and future general damages. I guess if I'm getting to sort of my thesis point, or what I'm arriving at as like what bothers me about this, is that the representation for Aries and Tiffany is reducing the concern or the frustration of the children, or the abuse of the children, to just wanting money. If you see this skit, and just based on what I've described, you guys, if you saw the skit, or it's been described to you, there's no way anybody would be okay with this being done to their children. I've asked myself many times, like, is there a way to make this skit funny? Would there have been a way? I don't think so. But I feel like if the skit was going to happen, there never had to be children in it. There's people that have an ability to tell comedy in a funny and smart way, where they can approach these kinds of themes. But that's not what was done here. And I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. Again, this was just me wanting to just sort of get this out, talk about it, regardless if it was one person that saw it or no person that saw it. I just wanted to make sure that I just said it, like that this is one of the most disturbing things that I've seen. And that's by no exaggeration at all, and I think that it is one of those things where it's a moment where I can't even look at either of those two the same. I don't know. I don't understand these people. It's not funny. It's not funny. And that child, think about that, with something like this, Jesus Christ, that poor little kid, when he has to, because obviously we've seen the video now that it's resurfacing, but when that kid looks at this video, his face is not even centered or censored even. It's humiliating. You're looking at something where, especially like when you grow up in an era, thank God I did not grow up like literally grow up. My formative years did not exist with social media. I didn't grow up with Instagram. But when you grow up in these kind of things, people will bully children. They'll bully people, and they see something like this, and they'll find a way to make something that even outside of your own fault or doing, and they'll use that to humiliate you. So there's a lot of trauma here. There's a lot of trauma here, and just very concerned about the welfare of these children. I hope that they've been to therapy. I hope that they know that the vast majority of people in this world, want them to be protected and are rooting for them, want them to be healthy. Okay, so somebody just said, I think they brought something to light, but it could have been done more appropriately. Well, that's gaming while it's hot. I agree with that premise, right? I think that if you want to say, listen, let's do a PSA on child abuse. Okay, let's use this example. And I've used this example. I've said that I think that a way to sort of take on a theme like this, where it's like dark, maybe a type of comedy, humor, like The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. That's a short movie that is like, it's considered like a dark thriller humor. And it is about, it's the weirdest premise on earth. And it's about a child who's actually molesting his father. But it's done very well. So it is a very dark, and it's a horrible circumstances, but it's done well. And it approaches the theme without being super, super literal, right? In this case, you can say that they brought something to light, but it could have been done more appropriately. Right. I agree with that. Gaming while it's hot. But you can bring something to light without actually involving children, without having the child stripped down to his knickers and bare chested, and using this kind of music with someone that we know is a known sex offender and child abuser. And also it's just creepy. And having Aries actually touch the baby and looking at the baby so lustfully, there's if you watch this video, when you look in his eyes and you see that look in Ari's eyes, there's something there that is so unsettling and disturbing that you just know this video is not going to go to a good place. This is even before we see any of the scenes. So I don't know. I feel like I don't know that we're ever going to hear anything from either of them regarding this. Again, it's just super weird because Aries has been in the media again for all of this Lizzo nonsense that he was spewing. So, and he's gone on to defend himself about Lizzo. We've not heard anything about this lawsuit, though I will say that he probably can't speak on the lawsuit. Neither probably can Tiffany, because they are probably dealing with it in a legal way where anything obviously that they say can and will be held against them. And probably, in the midst of a lawsuit, you don't want to just be flying off the cuff, just kind of saying anything or doing anything. But I don't know, man. I mean, this is just far and away one of the most obvious inappropriate things that I've seen that is intended to be so-called funny. And I'm really, really, I'm very sad about it. I was, I personally get very emotional when it comes to children, and the innocence of children and protecting them. I cannot, I just can't imagine, what's going through either of their heads having experienced that. And I cannot even fathom what it's like for that elder sibling. Again, guys, the sibling is representing, she's now an adult. Jane Doe is now an adult. She's 22 years old, and she's representing the both of them pro se. And in representing them pro se, and she is also the legal guardian of her younger brother. We have to acknowledge that something about that dynamic is unusual, that she would be legally the guardian of a child that's now, sometimes it's been reported that he's 14 or 15, but at 22 years old, I can't ever say that I've ever had a particularly difficult or challenging life on the level of many, many people. I think my problems have been, minute in comparison, but I can certainly tell you right now that at 22 years old, I was never in charge of a child. I know many people have had children at that point. There are different levels or stages in their lives, but for you to be 22 years old and be, now the legal guardian of your brother, what is going on with the mother? And that has been the question. The question is like, well, where was the mother? Why would she let this happen? You guys have to remember that the mother was not present for these skits because there was a trust there with the relationship that she has with Tiffany Haddish. So Tiffany Haddish was maybe like an auntie figure, someone that she could trust with her children. What the children are alleging is that once that door was shut and mom was out the door, everything became unmasked. Tiffany's entire behavior, her mood shifted. This is what's being alleged. And that she was completely different after the mother left the room. And then it's suddenly all of these skits and these asks were presented, and I just, I don't really have, much more to say than that. I will pretty much kind of just wrap it up right now, guys. I know I've been on for a while. There's a lot I could repeat, but again, just so you know, the main point here is that, Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears are now in the midst of a legal battle, and they are being sued by a 22-year-old Jane Doe and her 15-year-old John Doe brother. And the case is being, they're arguing this pro se. The sibling, the elder sibling, the Jane Doe, is she does not have representation. She will be going to court with this. The video was uploaded by Aries Spears to his YouTube channel in 2014. It was uploaded on Funny or Die. Funny or Die, which can do they have some pretty like crass, trashy humor sometimes, right? Even Funny or Die said, oh, hell no. And they took the video down. So that tells you a lot of things, right? But it also tells you a lot of things that this is coming out right now in this moment. Why are we here? There's always a why. There's always a why. And I always ask that question. Why are we here? Why is this being brought up now when 2014 was quite some time ago? All of these people could have been canceled a long time ago if we're going to talk about canceling people. So why are we here? And outside of, Ari's disgusting comments about Lizzo, why are we here with someone like Tiffany Haddish, who by any means really, I would say Tiffany Haddish is she's definitely an A-lister and probably in the top 5 of most sought after Black actors in Hollywood today. She's that high level. So what's going on here that, the many things that Tiffany Haddish has done, when she told us that Sanaa Lathan was licking on Beyonce at a party, when she was drunk. Tiffany sort of has said she kind of has this appeal where I think that she's kind of like, she represents like a sort of an every woman, right? She's like everybody else. And she's like, just like if any of us got the window into Hollywood, she kind of has that kind of appeal and presentation. I think that's why people tend to like her. She just feels very relatable in that sense. So why this right now? Why is this making this news cycle? And that's a question that I'm wondering. It is not lost on me though also that many of these blogs are not covering this incident. And I think that a lot of times, guys, when it comes to media, you realize that who doesn't say what is a lot louder than who does. A lot of this media that you see out there, you can't trust sources sources gonna keep saying, sources gonna do something, like that. But I always I like to just, like I said, I'd like to remain informed. I am not made better for seeing this video. I'll tell you guys that. I will say, if you have not seen this video, you shouldn't. I think that what I've described is probably enough for anyone. I do not recommend that you see this video if you are easily triggered by disturbing circumstances. But I will say that I do not think that what their point was, if the point really was to have a PSA, they did not do a good job of that. And I would like for them to speak more directly on what we saw. I would like to actually hear that, and I just I would love to know, like, if there's anybody that I knew that knew either of them, which sources say, I wouldn't actually probably be, I wouldn't probably disclose that if that were the case, but I would really be interested in knowing what their thoughts are on what they did. How, there's a type of people, right? There are people in this world who just have an inability. I've talked about this all the time. They have an inability to have accountability, to apologize, to actually accept their role in things. They're literally hardwired to not be able to say, wow, I really fucked up. There are people that cannot get that out of their mouths. They cannot say it. They cannot do it. They can't even pretend. Like, it's just something in them just innately where it's like there's always an excuse for something, whether, whatever that they've done. And that's when I encounter those kinds of people. I often find myself, not necessarily challenging them in an attacking kind of way. I often find myself asking them very, very direct questions to see how they approach the world and they approach life. And there are those kinds of people. So I'd like to see what they have to say about this, because there ain't nothing good in that video, y'all. Nothing is good in that video. And so I guess we'll just have to see, in terms of so-called people being canceled. I don't know what's in store. Again, we've all done things, especially in our youth, with the advent of all kinds of social media channels. We've said really crazy things. A lot of people get canceled for tweets. I've often questioned that, like, if somebody is now 25 and they tweeted something when they were 13 that was inappropriate, should that person be held accountable right now for that thought that they had as a kid? And I often question that too. Like, are we going too hard with certain things? Like, the mind of a child is very different. A lot can happen to a person in a decade or so, or with age, experience, life circumstances, those kinds of things. But this, to come up with an idea like this, to come up with this PSA, in the mind of a pedophile, and to execute it in this way, this is something different. It's harmful. It doesn't say anything it's not a teachable thing. It's actually quite disturbing, and I don't know what that child must be going through, having been used in this manner. And I really hope, I guess they were saying that the child was saying that Tiffany was trying to teach her fellatio. I hope there's no video of that. That's not online, to my knowledge. I hope that was not recorded. And that's pretty much all I have to say right now, guys. I've been kind of going on for quite some time, rambling at this point. But again, my name is Koku, aka Koku Puff. You are on Koku TV. And I have much more in store in terms of videos and things of that nature. And one day I will come back on live and have something a little bit more of a structured format. Today, this was me pretending to be on reality TV and talking and just, kind of rambling and going on. But I just felt like getting something out there and saying something in regards to this situation. And I feel so very sorry for those kids. And this just feels just really icky, really bad. And I feel like this represents, I understand how a lawyer will want to represent their client in the best way, but you can, I guess, like when I think about argument style as well, there's a way to say something without tearing other people down, right? Like without like ad hominem attacks or tearing people down. And these lawyers, I feel like, are trying to discredit these children in a way that, with the information that we have in front of us, they can't be discredited. Because once you see that video, if you see that video, which I do not recommend that you see that video, but if you see it, once you see it, it's something that you can't come back from. It's really that uncomfortable. And I don't know what the heck was going through their minds for that, y'all. And we are not better for it. And I question if either Aries or Tiffany really are okay for thinking something like that is okay. And yeah, I know I'm not okay. And I hope to God that those children are in some kind of therapy and that they have been protected, and that that they have a support system, especially since the elder sibling is in legal guardianship of the younger sibling, you know, that's very, that could be troubling. I don't know what that suggests, but that could potentially be troubling here. But again, everyone have a great night. It is super late wherever we all are, and I'll talk to you soon.